A very good morning to Doctor. So today I'm going to share my experience during a vacation at Cameron Highland with my family. On previous holiday, my family and I went a vacation trip to Cameron Highlands. We were there for 2 days and 1 night. Cameron Island is basically a very largest and arguably the famous highland resort in Pahang, Malaysia. It is popular with both locals and tourists because it provides a cool respite from the lowlands sweltering heat. The journey to hills were like a giant canvas painted by tea plants. When we arrived at Cameron Highlands and the weather was chilly, so we straight away took our lunch and immediately we departed to the Bo tea plantations. During our visit to the tea plantation, we enjoyed freshly brewed tea and a tour around the plantation. I love watching the workers plucking the tea leaves and to see the process of tea making. After that, we straight away went to check in the hotel and took some good rest. The next morning, we went to Mosey Forest Hike, which is the highest elevation of Cameron Highlands, as well as other mountain ranges are still covered with forest areas, which are referred to as Mosey Forest. While we are hiking this mountain, we were extra careful with our steps because the mountain was extra slippery and moisture. Next, we took our shower and breakfast at the hotel, and straight away we went to the butterfly farm, which is also one of the most famous farms and oldest institutions in that area. At Butterfly Farm, we are surrounded by fluttering colorful butterflies that flies around freely, spreading nectar to every plant they land on. So we bring our camera along and capture every moment at the farm. Next, we visit the time tunnel where we can find our antique signs, postcards, photographs, and other old curious things. Next, we went to Thompson Falls. At there, we were swimming and splashing water at each other, laughing as the cool breeze carried us away while others were seen netting fish. Listening to the flowing waterfall splash of cool water beneath was so relaxing experience for the ears and mind. The paradise-like place was not a miss for me to take the pictures. So we took a family photo to keep the memorable day as a souvenir. Lastly, we enjoyed our dinner at a restaurant. The dinner was very delicious. Then we left the Cameron Highland. My father drove the car carefully down the hill. I really enjoyed it even though it was a short trip because I had a chance to spend a quality time with my family.
My name is Namtip Anna Perempuan Jones and my metric number is 269562. I will talk about the literature review. The literature review is based on some journal or article. Here are some examples of the journal or article that we use in this assignment. First is Period of the Sea, a conclusive definitions from the Journal of the Malaysian Bar. Second, Operational Risk Management in Financial Institutions, a literature review from International Journal of Finance Studies. Third is The Meaning of Risk from Theory and Practice of Insurance. The last one is Risk Management Why and How from IRMI. There are two subparts in the literature review. First subpart is Meaning of Periods, Hazard, Loss and Risk, and the second subpart is Type of Risk. Meaning of Period, Hazard, Loss and Risk. First, period. Period refers to the cause of loss. Period is also situations that may cause personal or property loss. The terms period give the meaning that it must be accidental or fortuitous. Period can be divided into three categories, namely natural diseases, man-made dangers, and economic danger. Several dangers often combine to cause losses. Second, hazard. Hazard refers to something that increases the chance that a loss will happen because of a specific period. Hazard is a condition of action that increase the probability of magnitude of loss. The more hazardous the conditions, the greater the probability or severity of loss. There are four types of hazard, which are physical hazard, intangible hazard, moral hazards, and moral hazard. Continue from the previous slide, the third meaning is the meaning of loss. Loss is damage caused by the decline or disappearance of value caused by accident. Loss can also be injury or damage caused by the actions of others or accidents. And personal of object suffer loss is unintentional and unexpected economic value. Most risks of loss can be insured. Loss away involves the unplanned reduction in the value of some things. A planned reduction in value is not a loss. The last one is risk. Risk is the possibility of something happening due to the hazards or threat. Risk is also defined as the uncertainty about the occurrence of losses and the changes in the result that may occur within a certain period. Risk is measured according to the probability of occurrence and the consequence when it occurs. The possibility of risk is not almost or somewhat or perhaps. Risk only exists or does not exist, and there is no in between. Each risk is based on a series of known possible outcomes that bring benefits or harm. Now we go to the second subpart, that is type of risk. Risk can be divided into different types. The following are just 6 examples of the type that we will explain, such as static risk, dynamic risk, pure risk, speculative risk, systematic risk, and unsystematic risk. First is dynamic risk. Dynamic risks are those risks that involve the possibility of dynamic change. Dynamic risk can be caused by change in economic conditions. Second is static risk. Static risk involve losses that will occur when if the economy has not changed. The losses may be caused by human irregularity and mistake or natural diseases. Third is pure risk. Pure risks are potential losses in situations where there is no viable opportunity to obtain any gains or when only prospect of loss are provided. The pure risk cannot be controlled. Pure risk has only 2 consequences, that is complete loss or not loss at all. Speculative risk. Speculative risk refer to the uncertainty of prices and the possibility of investment losses. Speculative risk describe a situation where there may be both losses or gains. Speculative risk is usually a choice, not a result of the uncontrollable situations. Fifth is systemic risk. Systemic risk, also known as non-diversified risk, refer to the inherent risk of the entire market. Systemic risks affect the entire market, not just specific stock or industry. Investors can reduce the impact of systemic risk by establishing a diversified investment portfolio. The last one is unsystematic risk. Unsystematic risks are risks associated with specific investment. Unsystematic risks can be mitigated by the diversification, so they also call diversified risk. Through diversification in the sense of the investment portfolio, non-systematic risk can be minimized.
Throughout the vacation, my family and I possible to face many hazards and perils. One of the hazards will be carelessness and the peril, debit or credit card lost or stolen. Most of the travelers think that using credit cards while traveling is safer and easier than carrying large sum of money. But travelers unknowingly open themselves up to risks such as credit or debit card fraud. Credit or debit card fraud means someone making fraudulent transactions using your card. If it is stolen or lost, maybe on fraudulent application or situation. A transaction involving the charging of expenses, purchase of goods and services without the cardholder's knowledge is known as unauthorized use of credit or debit card. The fraudsters may be unable to use the lost or stolen card at a point of sale device that requires a PIN, but the card details can be used to make online purchases. These illegal transactions using a person's name, which is the victim, without their knowledge can lead that victim to financial and personal loss. Credit card fraud can increase the victim's liability, even can lead to bankruptcy. For the debit card fraud, the money can be stolen from the victim's account. The stolen money can reverse from bank, but it takes a lot of time and procedure. And also the victim have to report about this fraudulent transaction within a certain period. If the victim failure to report about this fraudulent transaction, the bank might be not revise the stolen money from the victim's account.
I will continue to talk about the second hazard, which is road condition during rain and reckless or careless. The period of the second hazard is road accidents. If compared by taking a bus going to Cameron Highlands, most people prefer to drive by themselves because they think that it is more safer. However, every holiday there will be a lot of news of car accident between small cars in Cameron Highlands. There are many reasons for the car accidents, and natural phenomena such as raining day is one of them. This is because Cameron Highlands is located on the high ground, which means that if it rains, it will be very difficult for people to drive because it will blur the people's visions and let the people lose sight of the road ahead. In addition, a rainy day will make the road very slippery. Coupled with the winding uphill and winding roads, it will make the journey become more difficult. These situations may lead to the poor vehicle control and easy skidding, which may lead to the road accidents. Losses from the road accidents may result in the minor injury or serious injury or death if not treated in times.
Okay, on to the next hazard, which is infected by viral viruses. Okay, in this context, we know it's the viral viruses is COVID-19, and it started like in middle of 2019, between 2019 and 2020. Okay, so the hazard to this peril is being in the crowded area with minimal protection from the viruses. Where, as we know in the SOP method, to in order to reduce getting infected, we need to wear a face mask, sanitize our hand, and keep social distancing. Okay, so in the early stage of these viruses, we don't really know how the viruses work. So our method of protecting ourselves is still unknown. So it could highly increase the chance of getting infected by COVID-19. And this type of hazard is physical, and will cause you, and will being infected by the COVID-19 will land you in big medical expenses, or if left untreated will lead to sickness and death. Okay, next peril is vehicle out of petrol. Okay, so when traveling to Cameron Highland, of course you need a vehicle to get there, but there is a risk of vehicles run on the petrol, and you cannot continue to traveling. So what has it that increase the chance of this peril risk of happening is having only small number of petrol station in the area. Okay, so based on this image, based on this diagram, there is only 2 petrol station near the Cameron Highland area. So in order if you run out of petrol early, or in some spot it could be very far away. It could be very far away to reach these two petrol station. So this kind of loss will be a kind of physical loss, uh, physical risk, and it will happen loss of vehicle use. Next on the list is item scammer. Uh, as as you know, Cameron Highland is a tourist attraction that will attract many people around. So you will see some of the stall set up on the roadside or in the street that will show some item that they are selling. So the hazard for this item scammer is being clueless about the quality item that they sold. So it could be they could be selling like a expensive watch, a branded wallet, or a phone even, but we don't know the true quality of the item. So it could be like a week later it's already unusable, or even a week later it's already broken down and already have wear and tear. So this type of hazard is a moral hazard and will result in loss of cash in the long run. Another risk that can potentially happen is chemical poisoning. As in Cameron Highland, they have this agriculture sector which plant based on like strawberry or greeny vegetable. Yeah, in order to keep this agriculture good and stable, they use a pesticide to keep the pests from ruining the harvest, the produce. So but if used in high dose pesticide, it will it will seep into the produce, and when the produce is consumed by people, it will it will cause chemical poisoning to those who consume the produce. So this type of loss is physical, and will the the loss that will happen is medical expenses that you have to pay to treat the symptom of chemical poisoning.
We conclude about seven hazard. Its surface of hill is uneven and heavy rain. The peril number 7 is landslide. As we all know, there are many possible perils that can happen at Cameron Island at any time, and one of them is landslide. This phenomenon is caused by disturbance in natural stability of a slope as such they can be occupied by heavy rain. When this disaster happens, the rock and earth are sliding down the slope, and this can be a bad when the rock of the side down on the vehicle which has people in it. Many losses that can happen during this disaster, such as injuries or death, additional stress, damage to vehicle, and others. Hazard number 8 is the discharge of the stream become too high to be accommodated in the normal stream channel. The eighth peril is downstream flooding. The stream or channel of this place is one of the sources where water coming for people at Cameron use as daily needs. If the discharge of the stream becomes too high to become accommodated in the normal stream channel, this can cause downstream flooding. Downstream flooding is a bad disaster because it can cause problems for people to consume their daily life. This disaster can cause some losses for people such as medical expenses, injury, and loss of vehicle use. The ninth hazard is condition of road is bad and dangerous to drive through, and the ninth peril is dangerous road. Cameron Highland is located at hill section, and people who want to drive to this place must drive up to a road with many obstacles. Road to the Cameron Highland is dangerous to drive because this road is prone to landslide during the rainy season and is regularly used by heavy vehicles such as lorry or trucks. Drivers should make sure that brakes and tires are checked before going to Cameron Highlands. because they have used that to go there. And if this dangerous route can make losses that can happen during desert road at Cameron Highlands, such as property damage, loss of vehicle use, injuries, and death, and others.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Rizky Rinaldi, metric number 281652. I'm gonna explain tree hazard and peril at Cameron Highland. The first hazard is disturbing the wildlife, and the first peril is dangerous wildlife. While visiting Cameron Highland, visitors can expect to witness some of Malaysia's fascinating wildlife, including colorful birds, summit monkeys, squirrels, insects, and various species of venomous snakes. What will happen when you come into contact with wildlife? The first is they will provoke or frightened by you, and they may attack you. Then the second one is poisonous snakes, spiders, and other insects may bite or sting you. Wildlife may steal your food or cause harm to your belongings because they smell odor from your food, and they will hunt for the smell, and they will take your food or maybe your belongings. The second hazard is high altitude and lack of experience, and the peril is altitude sickness. Low oxygen levels at high altitude create altitude sickness, which results in shortage of oxygen in your body. Shortage of oxygen has a series of consequences for your body. As your body tries to receive more oxygen, your breathing becomes more rapid. Physical activities become more difficult as a result of lack of oxygen in your muscles. Your hunger drops when your body diverts energy away from digesting and towards other vital processes. And the third hazard and peril that I will explain is the hazard is not preparing the route and did not familiar with the area, and the peril is getting lost. Cameron Highland have a really big area that occupy an area of 712.18 square kilometers. So it's easy for people to get lost whether on the busy road or on the trekking area. What can cause you to get lost is you lost sight of your companion and end up traveling the incorrect path, or taking a shortcut and you didn't know way back. And then when you were seeking for a deserted location to pee and you get lost and you didn't keep track of where you were heading. That's it all for me, and thank you.
Hi, my name is Amir Ali Rambi Husni and my matrix number is 282632, and I will continue to the next hazard, which is leaving lit cigarettes near flammable object. With more than 700,000 tourists visited Cameron Highland last year, there are some of irresponsible people leaving their lit cigarettes everywhere. When a cigarette is lit before it has completely burned out, it not only pollutes the environment but also it poses a fire hazard. Not properly disposing cigarette butts near flammable object may cause the building to catch on fire. While cigarette butts do not cause a disproportionate number of fires in comparison to other human activities, it is critical to recognize the risk they pose. We'll move to the next hazard, which is trees falling on cars. Since it is the monsoon season, it will lead to strong wind and heavy rain that may cause unexpected accidents such as trees collapsing on parked vehicles. Many tourists park their vehicles on the roadside while they visit the farm at Cameron Highland. Trees falling on vehicles may cause physical risks such as injuries or even worse, death. And last but not least, children drowning in unsupervised areas. Swimming pool area is a dangerous place as it is slippery. Overly excited children might just jump as soon as they see the swimming pool and not be aware of the danger that might occur in their surroundings. To illustrate, they might slip and fall into the swimming pool, and if at that moment they are unsupervised, they will drown themselves and possibly having health issue in the future. That's all from me. Thank you.
In conclusion, the Cameron Highlands are very beautiful places for tourists to visit during holiday season, but there are many possible hazards. During vacation, always keep cash and credit separately. If we keep some cash in a wallet or purse and then stash the rest in a pocket or money pouch. The best type of accommodation is one of the comes with unmarked swipe cards rather than numbered keys for each room. This way, if the swipe card is stolen or lost, the thief will have no idea which room to rob. It's important to be alert for dangerous signs and be cautious of your surroundings. Deadly animals, deadly viruses, extreme weather conditions, and adrenaline pump spots can all easily lead to a vacation gone wrong. It's important to know about the destination in depth before we arrive. Whenever we speak with a good stranger, use a good judgment and keep an eye on your belongings. Get information about safe neighborhoods, place to stay, and crime incidents by reading online reviews and asking locals. Thank you.